welcome back to The Real Contrast.
I'm Kyle A.
I'm Brian K. From Homes to Hearth, we bring the keys to success.
Yeah.
So what'd it be like today? Hey, what are you doing at 4 o'clock?
I'm setting an appointment.
Let's do it. All right. That's what we're going to talk about today, setting an appointment. All right, first off, let's set the context. What do you mean setting an appointment?
Exactly.
Like a doctor's appointment or what?
Yeah. No, I guess my question would be, if you're a new agent and they're saying you should be making a goal to set 2 appointments a week.
Change your life.
Okay. So, tell me what that looks like, Brian.
All right. If you're a brand new agent, like I was, you call your mom. Mom, I need to do a listing presentation.
Yeah, very good.
And then you call your dad. And if they're in the same house, then set different appointments for them.
Yeah. Right?
That's setting an appointment. Any other questions?
So you don't have a mom or dad.
Call your brother.
Brother lives out of town.
Call your wife.
That's good. Actually, I did do that. I did do listing
Yeah.
presentations with my wife.
Yeah, okay, but I think what you're saying is how do I achieve success? How do I set an appointment? And actually, I think maybe even a little bit deeper or maybe more subsurface is who do I talk to set an appointment?
Right.
Is that kind of where you're going with this, or all of the above?
Well, all of it. Because you're not just going to call somebody. Well, I'm not going to say you're not. You're Brian K. It's not. Okay, I should get that out of my vocabulary. Is it that easy to just make a phone call to a random stranger and all of a sudden be at their house, set it at an appointment for a listing, or set an appointment for a buyer's rep?
Really?
Or is there some steps that need to happen before that?
You know what Henry Ford said?
No.
Whether you think you can or you think you can't.
You're always right.
So, okay. I think let's start off with, where do these conversations happen? Because if someone is out there, newer agent, maybe a struggling agent, someone that just moved from another state and they just want to get started in a newer area, where do I get my business from? You can spend lots of money buying leads, right? Lots of thousands of avenues to spend money to buy leads somehow, some way. Common ones, call Realtor, Zillow. Hey, I want to pay for leads from this zip code, and they'll generate you with leads, right? So buyer calls, hey, I want to go look at 123 Main Street. Fantastic. And what I've talked and coached about a lot, and what I've done in my own business, whether it's a buyer or a seller, one of the most important things I think that you can do is a very simple script called Ford. Now, it's not a script like FORD and they set an appointment with you.
Right.
Ford stands for Family, Occupation, Recreation, and Dream. F, family. So, is it just you that's going to be looking at this house, or is there a significant other? We're scripting here.
Oh, yeah, it'll be me and my wife.
You and your wife? Okay, great. You guys got kids?
Yeah, we got one kid.
You got one kid? Oh, cool. How old?
I'm not going to tell you.
Is that really what they're going to say?
No.
And if they are, maybe this is a decision to not work with this person.
Yeah.
But, oh, how old?
He's 14 months.
14 months. Man, that's got to be really exciting. Right. Have you guys got any sleep lately?
I get a lot. My wife doesn't.
Oh, man. I just put it on her, huh?
Yeah,
I like it. I like it. What do you do for a living?
Real estate.
Oh, you do real estate. Cool. Where at?
Idaho.
Oh, what part of Idaho?
Coeur d'Alene.
Very nice. Very nice. Well, obviously you're under representation with yourself, and have a nice day.
Yeah.
Right. So what do you do for a living?
I'm a mechanic.
You're a mechanic. Oh, cool. Where are you a mechanic at?
At Snap-on.
Oh, really?
Is that even a place?
Well, maybe you could. They sell tools to be a mechanic.
I'm a mechanic tool.
How long have you been doing that?
15 years.
Oh, so is your wife a stay-at-home? That's why she's not getting that much sleep, and you go to work and.
Yeah, exactly.
Very cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
Well, I really appreciate it. So we've already covered family and occupation.
Right.
right? Did it feel weird?
No, it felt weird being on my side because I'm pretending to be a buyer
Yeah, it felt weird, right?
or
but,
a potential client.
but were those questions? Did you feel like those questions were intrusive?
No.
Or would someone kick back and talk to me about that?
Absolutely. And so I guess
Let me finish here.
no.
So I want to get.
I'm the buyer.
I want to get 3
Okay.
of the 4 forward. Okay.
Gotcha.
Generally speaking, family is super easy.
Yeah.
Occupation, easy peasy. Especially if you're going to go open the door for someone.
Right.
Don't you want to know if they're part-time at the gas station or if they have a full-time paying job that they might actually be able to buy a house with?
Absolutely.
And I'm not saying maybe you're part-time at the gas station and uncle left you $5 million in
Right.
cash, right? But these are conversations that you ought to be considering, right? So family, occupation, recreation, dream. You can do the LP Mama. It's not just Keller Williams specific. I know lots of agents that do the LP Mama: location, price, agent, mortgage. Nope. Location, price, LP, motivation, agent, mortgage, appointment. Okay, and this just comes natural for me, so it's really hard for me to
Right.
remember the LP Mama script. But the idea here is, if you called me and said, Brian, I want to go see 123 Main Street, and I said, fantastic, meet me at my office at 3931 Schreiber Way, Coeur d'Alene. You'd be like, but the house is at 123 Main Street. It'd be weird, right? And if you did show up, and I had just talked to you, you wanted to see the house, you show up, and now I'm like, all right, so it was Kirk, right? No, Cal. You need to sign this before we can go look at a house. Dude, you wouldn't sign nothing because you don't trust me.
Right.
You don't like me.
You don't know me.
You don't know me.
Right.
Okay? Now, people's favorite thing to talk about is themselves.
Absolutely.
So one of the best ways to get to know someone is ask them about themselves.
Absolutely.
Family, occupation, recreation, dream. Yeah. When I talk about recreation, so what's important about this house to you? And you're like, well, it's close to work and everything else. Oh, cool. Do you guys ever take the kid to the park? Because there's a park super close. Every once in a while. Great. You guys like to ride bikes? What do you do for fun?
Right.
And it's not weird. These are the same things that you would ask someone that you're meeting at a Christmas party for the first
Absolutely.
time. Right? So you're talking to them, whether they're a buyer or seller. You go through the Ford script. And it is different if it's a buyer or seller. How much? I mean, if someone calls up and says, "Hey, Kyle, I'm curious about 123 Main Street. Can you tell me how much it is?" Sure. How big's your family?
Right.
That's weird.
What do you do for a living?
So you definitely have to be. You have to have some tact and skill to it, but build rapport, and then you want to provide the value to them of why they should come sit down.
Absolutely. So my question on the setting appointments is,
Yeah.
if you're a new agent, should you expect to have an appointment set by next week? I mean, your very first week at the job? Is that a realistic expectation?
Whether you think you can.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, the reason I ask you some of these questions and bring up these topics is because I'm evaluating myself.
Sure.
And as much as I like to think I'm great at things, bringing you into the conversation for my own thoughts about myself allow me to grow, right?
Absolutely.
And
all of us.
And when
that's what we're here for.
And when we talk about setting 2 appointments a week, man, there's so many times that I don't have 2 appointments a week.
Yeah.
But am I actively out there trying to set appointments? So I'll kind of give you a little scenario of Kyle, and it's not always the good side, because when we have conversations, there's times where I feel like, whoa, holy cow, like I do not stand up to this, right?
Sure.
And I'm not saying that's a bad thing, because it can all be positive, right? And so that's why I'm asking. So for me, when I first got into it, there was no appointments. Man, I was out door knocking, like beating down doors, and hey, it was an appointment right on a doorstep, right? And I'm having
That's what you thought.
I'm having conversations. And as it progressed, and it just one thing kind of led into another, where somebody would drive by and ask a question while I'm actually at that listing or at an open house, and the appointments kind of in my mind kind of set themselves. And I'm not saying that's correct. I'm just saying that's how my mind thinks about it.
Absolutely.
Right? Mm-hmm. And I realized that, hey, there's something you do in order to get to somewhere, right? If you're going to walk to John's house, you got to take these steps.
You don't have to.
Well, you're not walking.
You could go directly to John's house. You go the opposite direction, walk around the lake.
But you're doing something.
And get to
right?
John's. Sure.
But the point is you're doing something.
Absolutely.
And you bring that to my attention. So even to this day where I'm at is I get a phone call from somebody that I've done business with somewhere else. It's almost like they're setting the appointment for me. And I'm not saying that's a good thing. I'm just saying that's the truth. And so when I'm asking you about setting these appointments,
yeah,
like I'm in my office every day. I'm going to my office every day. I'm making my phone calls because I am doing some lead generation, and which is good for me because it's allowing me to move forward. And I know ultimately the goal is to be of value and to build the relationships. But when I look back at how are these appointments actually, in my mind creating themselves, when you brought up the Ford.
Yeah.
Those are the conversations that I'm having with people just out walking or at a grocery store.
You don't even mean to do it.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I know that because we've had so many conversations.
Right.
Here's what I see. I think you're wondering, how do you go from chatting with a dude walking down the street to sitting in a living room with them? And first part is intention.
Right.
Right. So there's been a lot of business that you more than likely would agree that you've lost because you haven't been intentional about the conversations that you had with people.
For sure.
Right.
I mean, I don't think there's any question in that.
And I think that most anybody that is a small business owner can say the same thing. I wasn't intentional enough to get their phone number, and they ended up buying with someone else.
Absolutely.
Had a great conversation with them in the open house. I gave them my card,
right,
and they called someone else.
Right.
The good thing is you'll never know because you didn't get their phone number to be able to call them.
Right.
Okay.
No, absolutely.
So here's what you need to think about. One of the big reasons I think that the successful is mindset. And so as you progress through this journey, one of the things you want to do is tell yourself, I'm going to have 2 appointments a week.
Right.
And as you start to focus on that for the newer agents out there, I struggled with Ford really, really bad, Kyle. I was doing Ford on my girlfriend, now wife.
Right.
Okay. And now she thinks
you set that appointment.
Now she thinks that I like to talk, and we've got a whole new set of issues, right?
Right.
But the truth is that that's not natural for me. I'm not like you, right? It has become more natural because of a trained response that I have.
Right.
So when I would walk into the grocery store, Home Depot, or I'm door knocking, I would be thinking about how can I change this into an appointment. Now, there also is a fine line between money hungry, commission breath,
right,
and appointment setting. And that comes in understanding your value.
Right.
Okay? So, let me pose this scenario for you. Your neighbor, you look outside, across the street, you see your neighbor, and he's putting up a gym set for his kids, okay? And it's pretty big. It's 7 foot across, big metal bars, and you can see he gets the one A-frame up right, and he looks down, he grabs the pole, and he sticks it in. Now he's got to get that other side, and he runs to the other side, and the whole thing falls, and everything breaks up. And what are you going to do?
I'm going to go ask him if I can give him a hand.
Why?
Because that's just who I am.
You'd be valuable to that person at that juncture in time, right?
Yeah.
Now, the same thing when you're talking to someone as a real estate agent. We were talking off air about our value and value props, And when you identify that you have a value that you can help someone, your next thought is, how can I help them? Okay.
Right.
And especially when it comes to appointments and being intentional, my belief is that with buyer calls me 123 Main Street. I've got listed. I'm going to walk through my best to do forward with them over the phone.
Right.
And I know they're a buyer. And I also know that if they're being represented, which they probably aren't because they called me on a sign, right? If they're not being represented, I probably have a value to them because not every listing agent answers the phone.
Oh, yeah. Amen.
And so they want to go look at 456 Main Street. I can be a valuable resource to them. Hey, you know what? It sounds like this house may not be the right fit for you, but this is what I do every day.
Right.
And so talking to you, I think I've got a couple of houses that might be of interest to you. I tell you what, there's a lot that goes into the home buying process. And it's not just about looking on Zillow and seeing what the price is. There's 58 negotiable terms now, now that we negotiate commissions.
Right.
There's 58 negotiable terms in an offer. And I've found that buyers are much more successful if they know about this stuff before they get into that emotionally charged state.
Absolutely.
So it sounds like at this juncture in time. Now, there's 7 different ways to ask for an appointment. Mine is passive aggressive. Sounds like this would be a good opportunity for us to sit down and strategize and talk about what it looks like to buy in North Idaho.
Right.
And I do it with my sexiest radio voice, and it sets the appointment every time. Now, and there's more to it. There's more tactics. You get into the yes scenario, tie downs. So you're talking to a buyer.
Well, do it. Do one. Do a yes scenario. Right
Yeah,
here.
okay. So, Kyle, and let's assume that we've built good rapport. You like me. Maybe the house that you called about isn't. It's on leased land, but you're approved up to 400, and I know. Okay. So, Kyle. So it sounds like you're looking to buy a house in the next 3 to 4 months, 3 to 4 weeks. Is that right?
Yes.
Fantastic. And so, and you're not represented by another agent, is that correct?
That is correct.
So it sounds like we should get together and talk about best plans moving forward for you to buy a house. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Fantastic. So I've got tomorrow at 3 o'clock or 5 o'clock available. Would either one of those work for you?
Yeah, let's do 5.
So we got in the habit of saying yes.
Gotcha.
And I'm just simply giving you questions that I know the answers to.
Right.
Right? But those tie downs are also breaks because I could have said everything without taking a break.
Right.
But the human wants to talk. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it does. Yeah,
That was a tie down.
It absolutely makes sense.
Would you agree with me? That's a tie down.
Right.
So it sounds like you really like this house. Am I right?
Yes.
Tie down. You get the yes. Next one.
Right.
And you're approved $20,000 above the cost of this house. Is that right?
Yeah.
So, Kyle, what you're telling me is that you've been frustrated by the last 4 listing agents that you've used. Did I get that right?
Yes.
And what I'm hearing from you is that even though you've attempted it on your own, you do see how some of the marketing and everything that I've talked to you about is valuable service to sellers, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And it sounds like the other agents weren't quite there, right?
I want to get into your mind.
Yeah. So
No, I love it.
why don't we plan out a time for me to swing by? I'll walk through the house. I'll tell you the things that I think that you need to scooch up around the house, and we'll go through not only the RE16, which is the representation, but let's go through the RE21, because what I heard was that agent that put the offer down in front of you didn't really talk about the offer. So let's talk about the offer in a non-charged environment. Would
Yeah.
that be better for you?
Yeah, absolutely.
Fantastic. So I've got tomorrow at 2 or 4. Which one of those would work for you?
I'll take them both
Now, why do you ask the 2?
because you give them a choice, right?
Why not 3?
I don't know.
Because the human brain can only handle so much.
Right.
So you give them 2 choices. If those choices don't work, they'll let you know that.
right.
But most humans, if you give them 2 choices, are going to set
Right.
that. And you
Yeah.
set it in the afternoon, not before noon. Why?
Because after people eat, they're more docile.
Because the most important thing that every business owner has to do every day is find more business. And your best energy, most humans, is before noon, the first things that you do. And
Right.
so you don't set the appointment for tomorrow at 11 o'clock because
Gotcha.
that's the time where you're looking for the next appointment.
And that's so funny you say that. I set an appointment tomorrow
Mm-hmm.
at 9:30 in the morning. My wife looks at me and she goes, "Why would you do that?"
Mm-hmm.
That's the time when you're making your phone calls.
Yeah.
And you know what? I told her, I'm like, "You're right." But see, these aren't I'm trying to grow here.
You're
right?
not trying, you are.
Yeah. So I'm growing here, and she nailed it, and you just confirmed that.
But you, and for context, you haven't used the calendar for all of your career.
Right.
I mean, maybe you put appointments on there, but you've
Right.
never done time blocking
No,
where
right.
you said that this is my call time, right?
Right.
You just said that right now. That's something very important out there. If that's your call time, and when you rode a bike, did you hop up on that and just take off, or did you fall down a bunch?
I actually don't remember.
Like the most successful people fail the most.
Right.
Okay. So don't get down because you did that.
Right.
It's going to happen. And as you continue to do that, thank your wife for putting that top of mind
Yeah.
to you, because now you've got to go in there and you've got to cover up that call time with appointment with Jan,
Right.
right? And eventually your brain is going to see that. And now if you look at my calendar, I know that my appointment times are 1 and 3 o'clock, right? This is next week. I don't have any appointments set, but I've got 1 and 3 o'clock available.
Right.
Okay. And so my head, and I'm going
So
to
there's already intention there. There's already intention there.
exactly.
Dude,
I'm
loving this.
I'm not going to set an appointment before noon. I've seen this calendar 1,000 times. Like, do I set appointments before noon? Sure. But what you erase, you must replace. Okay. But
Gotcha.
for the most part, when I'm initiating the contact times,
Yeah.
it's not before noon.
Right.
And having that sense of confidence goes back to a doctor or a lawyer. When you call a doctor or a lawyer, you know, when you set the last doctor's appointment, you know, for Everett, okay, did you call them up and you're like, hey, we need to come in and get our kid checked out. You got tomorrow at 9 available? No. They told you what they had available, and you said, well, yes, sir. Okay,
Yep.
sounds good.
Absolutely. Value.
So it's all in here.
Yeah.
Right? The more we value ourselves, the more we value our calendar, the more we value our family, which benefits from that calendar,
Yeah.
the more we'll be on track with that, and having the intent, right?
Right.
Having these conversations where we go, okay, I need to set that appointment with that guy.
Gotcha.
Instead of giving the business card to them, I should have asked for their phone number.
Right.
Or I should have asked for their email. Hey, you know what? I do monthly emails, and I'd love to keep you up on the market.
Yeah.
There's a little bit of fun in there. There's a little bit of market, usually some new listings that I've got. What's a good email for you?
Yeah. No, you're right. Thank you.
Boom shakalaka.
Booyah.
All right.
All right.
If you guys have liked this episode, smash the like button. Hey, we would super appreciate it if you subscribe to our channel here and leave us a comment. If you guys want to hear what's going on, someone out there somewhere might read these comments and maybe bring a subject to it.
Absolutely.
Until next time, I'm Brian K.
I'm Kyle A. Peace.
Peace.